to the Hit Show. I am your host, Eric Ruth. I am a licensed attorney, and we are here today with Dallas. We are going to depose Dallas to find out if he has overcome his trauma in a healthy way in order to be a productive member of society today. Hello, Dallas.
Hello, Eric. Nice to be with you.
Great to have you here. Do you swear or affirm or agree that everything you're about to say will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you somebody's God?
I do.
Great. Let's go. Who did you come out of and where?
Who did I come out of and where? Well, we'd have to say physically my mother and 1958, a little while ago.
And where did this take place? Where were you born?
Victoria, British Columbia, Canada.
All right. And sir, what is your trauma?
Well, I begin at everyone's trauma, birth itself. We can imagine that just arriving into this world from that calm, beautiful place we've been in growing for 9 months would be our original trauma. And I think that is the basis of our original fear and insecurity. That's what's baked in from the beginning.
All right.
And then in our childhoods, we will go through events that will make that even stronger.
Sure.
And really make them foundational blocks of the house that becomes our life. Because when we're little kids, we have no filter. There's no rational mind or logical thought to be able to look at something objectively and say, well, that's really not meant for me. Everything's meant for me. I'm a sponge and I take it all in. And it becomes rock solid basement material. So I think we all come from that same beginning in those first years. Now, some get it a lot harder than others. You know, I was bullied and abused psychologically and physically a lot as a little kid. And, you know, I blamed the church. I blamed school. I blamed friends. I blamed Boy Scouts. All these places where bullying and abuse took place. And you carry that. It becomes emotional baggage that we carry with us through our life. You may get no more trauma in your life. Your life may go great ever after that time. And a lot of people will tell me when I work with people, they'll say, I had a great childhood. I got no problems. But they're anxious all the time, or they're regretting things from the past. And they're not putting it together that a lot of this trauma happens very early, and we don't necessarily have a picture perfect understanding of it. It's just this overall weight we carry in life and ends up showing up by sabotaging ourselves or the voice in our head that doesn't support us or even criticizes us, worrying about what's going to happen next. Anxiety is huge today. And we've got a whole world that supports you in being anxious. It's feeding you every day that something bad is going to happen next.
What is the story that you've told yourself is the first instance of trauma that you remember? Because like you said, it's not the truth. It's not what happened. It's not reality. You were traumas, you experienced trauma well before you first actually remember it. So and then even remembering it is a story, right? So what's always been the one thing you look at and go, here's the one thing that I'll latch onto.
And the story is the story. We are all a story, right? You're a story, and I meet you at a cocktail party and I say, nice to meet you, Eric. Tell me about yourself. And yourself, your image of you, your history of you is your story. That's what you start telling. So the things I latched onto were school, the abuse I received there, because I didn't fit into school. I would be your ADHD dyslexic child, but back then there was no label. You were just stupid. And so I was told I was stupid repeatedly. That alone, that word became a massive anger trigger point for me when I was in my 20s or 30s. If someone called me stupid, I was fists in. Let's go. The anger was just explosive. So even a word can become an anchor for terrible pain. And I think most people's trauma is not one big event. It's trauma by 1,000 cuts. It's little things that keep going and hurting and punching away at them until they become this bag of pain and just pent up anger and stress. And they carry that for years. So I think, other than the people who have huge events, that singular physical abuse by an alcoholic father, let's say, which can always be just saying, there it is, boom, right on my pedestal. I can see it perfectly and reimagine it every moment. Did I choose to, by the way? We have to bring up the memory. We have to play the movie. We have to sit in the theater and watch it and let the feeling flow over us. And we do that. We keep wounding ourselves by playing that over and over, because almost all our traumas happened years ago. They're not happening right now. So why are they here? Well, because we carry them. We protect them. We look after them. We keep them safe and keep them close because they become a part of our self-image. It's who I am. I am this story. I am this history. And the reality is, when I said, tell me about yourself, Eric, you tell me your story. You're not telling me about you, because you are long gone. You were there when you were born, but then you've been covered up by a story. And I was covered up by a story. And we all are. And some of our stories are incredibly painful and heavy. And over time.
Tell me, Dallas, what was part of that story that you were using to cover up your trauma?
Well, the first addiction is blame. It's everyone's first addiction. So it's not, forget the trauma. I just blame school for making me angry. I blame the church. I blame Boy Scouts. I blame friends. I blame teachers. I blame my boss in my first job. I blame workmates. Blame, blame, blame. So I never have to take what? Responsibility for me. If I can push it away and blame everyone, I'm safe somehow. And we all do this to some degree. Some people do it their whole lives. And so I had to go to a stronger medication to keep the pain away. And that was alcohol. Alcohol and drugs are fabulous. They work wonderfully. Instant happy. I'm great. No pain at all. What a terrific time. I got friends and we're partying and we're having a good time. But over the years, of course, it begins to be an evil demon on its own. And all of a sudden, I don't want to drink anymore. I feel like crap. Well, one more drink. No, I don't want to drink anymore. I feel like crap. Well, just one more. Tomorrow I'll stop. Tomorrow I'll do it. So the next addiction is a gonna monster, I call it. Because I was gonna go to the gym. I was gonna start a business. I was gonna change my diet. I was gonna stop drinking. I was gonna be a better father. I was gonna be a better husband. When? All those things mean responsibility. The only thing I don't want, the only thing most traumatized people don't want to get near, because that's where the rubber meets the road. I know you're a big Stoicism guy. Well, Stoicism's basic foundational premise is responsibility, because it's about you. You can't change the world or things out there or other people. You only have yourself. And that's one of the great points of Stoicism, is because it always points here. The fingers don't point out at other people. It's not about blame and all these things going on. It's what you can do for your own system, your own self. And that's the hardest thing. Probably why hasn't Stoicism fixed everyone? It's 2,300 years old. Why has it failed? And it has failed. It's failed for a simple reason. We have this story that is the foundation. And then you take Stoicism, fabulous ideas, great tenets and principles and virtues, and we try and put it on top of a story that doesn't believe it. We tell people today, believe in yourself, be strong. I say, don't believe in yourself. Yourself is this story that doesn't believe in you. Yeah. And people are trying to put, discipline and drive and hard work on top of a story that's little voice in the back is going, it's not going to work, buddy. Nope, I'm not doing it. No, I don't believe it. Mm-hmm. That's our reality. And so we're constantly in an external world trying to work harder, attain something, achieve something, buy something, work myself to a position that will fix the story. It won't.
You're absolutely aware, and I'll say I'll break from my normal course of questioning here to just say you're absolutely right when it comes to stoicism. And I recognized immediately that this path that I was choosing to take was going to be more difficult than a year of therapy,
Yes.
than 6 months in a rehab. That going to a rehab compared to the practice of stoicism is a fucking vacation that
Yeah.
I wish I could sign up for every day because it is daily work. And the more it's like a gym rat that goes to the gym. You show up to the gym and you get that smack of guilt in the back of your head, and you go, "Okay, I got to go back to you right quick, or I'm going to lose my way."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And you have to unravel that nest of bullshit before you can get in there to seep down to the roots. Oh, excuse me, roots of what it is. I really appreciate you saying that in defense and in blasphemous talk about my beloved philosophy, but you're 100% right. And that's why I stopped trying to sell it as a philosophy to people. And that's why I recognize, though, the practice and the art, the practice that this beautiful philosophy gave me inside journaling, is the one thing that I can sell to people, is that type of thing. But the other thing Stoicism did to me is it made me aware. What was your point of awareness where you said, oh, shit, I see it now. I see how my trauma has affected everything about me in that story I tell myself.
Well, I think when people come to that point of awareness, and it's the critical point, I think throughout our lives, the knock on the door keeps happening and telling you to wake up, but we mostly just ignore it because we're so deep in our story. So for me, it built to a point where I woke up one morning with cancer, and that's the body expressing the pain. And so in a 1 year period, I went through cancer. I lost my wife, my home, my business, ended up alone, broke, and suicidal in 1 year in the pandemic. That's the greatest year of my life. That is just the most fabulous thing that could ever have happened to me. I am just so appreciative of that year because that's a knock on the door that you can't not answer. That knock is so loud, is so in your face that you have to take a look because you're presented with the final solution, suicide. And the rational mind knows and logical, hey, it's over. I'm out of here. No more pain. I don't have to deal with this. It's a simple solution. I don't think it's crazy at all. I think it's quite a rational solution for people. But it's then understanding what is the value of you? What are you here? Are you here to do something? Are you here to give something? Not just to exist, because I had been just existing in a painful story. And so, yeah, suicide's an easy way out of that painful story. But having gone through this year, it was like, no, this isn't the end. There's a reason you just went through this. This is not normal. Normal people don't go through that in 1 year. Normal people can get crushed by just the marriage ending or just losing the business or just the pandemic. I'd hear people moan about the pandemic and I think, that's all you went through? You think that's a problem? So one of my wake-up calls was a friend pointing that out. When I thought I was broken and suicidal, said, hold it, you just went through that crap in 1 year and it didn't kill you. You must be strong as an ox. And I thought, strong? I never even thought of that. How could that be? And then I looked at it and went, well, yeah, if I was weak, I really would be dead right now.
I was going to ask you at the moment, because look, it's not always, roses and daisies, right? You're going to have days and moments where you go, I mean, seriously, and I'm a nihilist at heart, so that's a constant battle for me. But what did you do in those moments? Kind of when you get triggered to, those lower depths of depression, what pulled you out? Obviously, you just gave me an example of your friend, showing you painting that picture for you. But what did you do besides that?
Well, I had other interventions. I had another intervention arrive. And that was maybe 3-4 weeks after the friend said that. And that was rolling in my head going, that's what stopped me from suicide. Just that thought that you're right. If I've gone through all this and I'm not dead, maybe I'm not supposed to be dead. And then just 3 weeks later, I'm cutting onions for dinner one night. And on the background is a podcast and a man is talking about consciousness. And he says this one line. Now, remember, we've been talking about our whole life is this story. Everything about us is our history, right? We live in our history every day because all our knowledge is our experiences, our learning out of it. So, of course, my history, my story almost killed me. So watching this podcast, and this man says this, show me yesterday. That was it. But what that did to my mind was, what's the reality of yesterday? I can't show him yesterday. I can't go to a cupboard and say, Eric, look, here's yesterday. There's nothing to show you. What is this thing? And that began this thought pattern in my head of going, the story. I'm living a story that I believe is my life. And that story that I believe almost killed me. But what's the truth of a belief? What is the foundation of truth? You believed things 10 years ago you don't believe today. And you will believe things in 10 years that you don't believe today. So what does belief mean? It's just a story. Whole countries believe another country is the enemy and will go to war and kill each other for a story, a belief. It's not true. It's not happening. They go to war. We do it today. It's happening all over the world. We believe things, and these things become powerful in us as this truth to us. But none of it is solid. It's all in flux and fluid and changing throughout our lives. So how can it be real? That's what started rolling in my head until I realized history isn't even important. You know, what's the old saying? Any country that doesn't remember its history is doomed to repeat it. It's about not remembering it. I think it's the opposite for us. Everyone who remembers their story history are doomed to live in it. And I took that and said, I'm cutting my story out. I'm going to disbelieve my story. I disbelieve the reality of this trauma, the meaning of it, what it was really about. I'm going to edit my story. I'm going to change the movie. And you can do that. There's no laws here. There's no rules. There's nothing stopping us. And this revelation was just like, what a freedom. I don't have to have a history. Tell me about your past. I don't have a past. I don't need a past. What for? I'm here today. I'm here today with Eric right now talking. That's all there is. There is no yesterday. There's no tomorrow. That's a fantasy, an idea of something I might do. And that's fine to have as a dream, as a goal, as a vision of a direction I might take my life. But all the work is right here. It doesn't happen anywhere else. So what do I need the baggage for? All the baggage in anyone's life, every trauma, every pain, every regret, anxiety, fear, everything, insecurity, it all comes from the story. It doesn't come from right here, right now. It doesn't exist. When you're in attention and right here with another human being or with what you're doing, your work, anything, you're right there. There is nothing else. There never is.
What was the work that you did to come to this enlightened state? I mean, in the actual movements of your body, are you reading? Are you thinking? Are you listening to podcasts and chopping more onions? What's going on when you're coming to these realizations?
Well, when I got out of my year of life collapse, I had to rebuild myself physically first because I was, 130 pounds and 6'1" from cancer. And, I could barely walk more than 100 meters. And I was just dead tired all the time. So I had to rebuild myself physically. So the first thing I did was go for a walk. And every single day, just walk. I mean, first day I literally went not farther than the end of my driveway. It was unbelievable. And for a guy who was always, as a kid, played tons of sports as a kid, it was like you can really mentally fall down. And I watched people go through cancer and give up. I'm sure you've seen people, because you've been in the military, who when the strain and stress got hard and they got in their fear, they gave up. And people do it every day, but it doesn't mean they're not strong enough. They just didn't find that thing that we all have, that drive that is in there. I think we all possess a strength that we can barely imagine, and we almost never tap into it.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I think what it is, and you hit it on earlier, was you have to forget. You forget that you can or can't do these things. And that's
Right.
as I look at all the unbelievable actions I've accomplished with my body. And now, as a 43-year-old man, I look back and go, how did I do that? And I remember it's the same old adage, you're too dumb. you just do it, right? But part of that and the philosophy behind it is you're not allowing your mind to get in front of those actions because you recognize your body and your mind are two different entities. They are connected, certainly, but they are two separate entities.
And the mind is that story that will run your body, that will
Exactly.
keep you on the couch, that will keep you safe and secure and destroy you in that safety and security.
Yeah.
Look at the old adage, ignorance is bliss. If
Yep.
you really break that down, you realize if I don't know I can't, I probably can. Ignorance is bliss. The best things in life often happen when you're doing something you don't even know you can do. You just
Yeah.
push yourself past the point where you even know, and you don't care. You just go, and fantastic things happen. So I had to put, I've got a sticky note on my TV right behind me here. The sticky note says, "Get off your ass." It's the TV talking to me, saying, "I know you're sitting down when you should be doing something." I put a sticky note on the fridge. It said, "What's going into your mouth?" I put a sticky note all over the place. And what they're doing is wake me up. Get out of the sleepy, sleepwalking world, because that is the story mind of habits and routines that we do daily, never have to think about. They're just easy. That's the story mind. When you're awake and paying attention, you are not in that mind. You're thinking. The story mind is thoughting, I call it. Thoughts just arising in your head that you're not even asking for. And your ego grabs and says, "Yeah, that's you. Remember that." And keeps you in the story. That's thoughting. And people that practice thoughting up to 30,000 times a day. But thinking is self-directed. It's attention. It's intention. It's what you're trying to accomplish, what you're doing, how you're acting and behaving with intent. That's being at attention. That's why school teachers went, "Attention, class." What were they doing? Take you out of your story mind, bring your attention to what we're doing. Why does the military officer stand at attention? Because he's fully present. He has to be there because you have to have that discipline for the team to work. And you do it in sports. You're not drifting off in la la land while you're playing with your team. You have to be there in your position, playing your game.
It's that intuitive level of thinking that people go through life. Those are the motions of life. You can walk through life intuitively and you'll be fine. But to stop, to get to that, what Daniel Kahneman's at, deeper level of thinking, that
Yeah.
level below it takes something. It takes that snap to attention, right? Because you look around, and people start complaining, "I'm a lion and not a sheep." Well, we're all sheep at times. You're going through the
Yeah.
motions too. To
Yeah.
stop,
And a lot of the
tell me what.
lions are pretending to be lions.
Oh yeah. Tell me what you're up to today and how you maintain this resilience. And if your life looks like a practice like mine, because I'm sure it does.
Yeah. Staying awake. That's everything. Because when you're awake, you're thinking, right? That's a proactive tool. I say you have a toolbox mind. And the toolbox mind is all the techniques and tools that we learn in life that allow us to practice our life. They're the things we bring out, and we create skills, and we learn new things, and we drive towards something. That's the toolbox mind. That's the mind when we're awake and we're paying attention. We're thinking. And so I try and stay there every hour of the day. And when I do, there is no story. You cannot be in your story mind when you are awake. That's the reality. I always tell a story of we've all done it. You drive home from work at the end of the day and you're tired, and you walk into the house and you slap your keys down on the kitchen counter, and the sound of the keys hitting the counter wake you up. And you go, "I don't even remember driving home. How is that possible? How is that possible?" That's the power of the story mind. That's the power of this world we live in. 70-80% of our day for most people is this daydreaming story mind of habits and routines that just become easy. And that's the whole fight here. That's the whole struggle here, is to be awake. Because when you're awake, you're not there. There's no anxiety. There's no fear. There's no worry. It goes away. Everybody wants to be what in life? Happy. Everybody wants to get to that place where they have peace of mind, love, beauty, happiness. You're born that way.
Sorry to cut you off. We only got a couple more minutes, but what's your one piece of advice to somebody that's been in similar circumstances as you and face the same kind of trauma and are hoping to get out of it and get to that place of happiness?
Yeah, you have to be able to question yourself. You have to be able to say, what if, about yourself? What if the truth of me might be different than I think? You have to really question yourself, because you have a self-image, a whole persona of who you are, the masks you wear at work and play and everything. You've got to be able to question the reality and truth of yourself. That's what Show Me Yesterday did for me. It said, yeah, what is yesterday? What is my past? How is it that powerful? And that questioning led me to, I want to be me, not that story. That story isn't that great. I don't know why I want to show that off. It's got a lot of crap in it. I don't need it. So that questioning, I often get people when I start working with people to use their phone and videotape themselves telling their story. And do it like 10 times over a month and review it and look at it and see it as if it was a friend and you were telling them your story. And they start to pick out pieces and go, yeah, that's not so great. Yeah, I don't really like that. They start to get uneasy with their story. That's good. You need to be pissed off at yourself because yourself has brought you here. If you're perfectly happy and life is great, terrific. You're fine. But if you're having a hard time and things don't go well and you know all this garbage is back there, you need to look at it and check out the reality.
You're absolutely right, Dallas. And, I just had a conversation with a lady who's doing a technique up in Jasper, Alberta, Canada. And she has this wonderful practice that she calls a constellation practice, I believe, where she gets strangers that you never met to essentially act out your trauma before you. And I thought, my God, what a wonderful way to get people aware of their trauma. And what you're talking about is the same type of process where you try to get people to prophylactically become aware of their trauma, right? And I feel like the way that you and I do it, they keep asking people why. It's like people know immediately, like I did with Stoicism. You know immediately, I don't want to answer that question. I don't want to go down that route because I know what the answers are, right? You always know. It's like you got the wise old man or old woman up there going, you can't put it past this one, right? I think that, and that's why I think what she's doing is an amazing, and it's not for everybody, of course, but I think it's to see that transpire before your eyes and kind of wake you up. It's like, what technique? And that's why I have this podcast. What can you find to bring that awareness to people to be like, dude, dummy, quit telling yourself that story. Take hold of it, right? And your practice, I think, is beautiful. And just so we're clear, the verdict is in. You've absolutely done an amazing job with the trauma you faced, sir. I can't even imagine living the life that you've lived and what you've gone through. And just to be clear in this podcast, we barely glanced over the year that you had and focus on your early childhood trauma. But, you did it in a healthy way in talking about it the way you do and continue to have this conversation and make people aware of that present ability to live life. So I want to thank you in that. And my last question for you, I'm stealing this from one of my favorite hosts of all time, inside the actor studio. If God exists and he were a real person, you were to face him at the gates of St. Peter, and you found out that he was or she was responsible for all of your trauma and all the shit that you went through in life, what would you say to him or her?
My first reaction would be, what the hell do you think you're doing? Look, I really think that we're born to be happy, beautiful, loving beings. So what's the story? You know what I mean? That's the whole thing. Why the story? That's what I'd be saying. Why the story? What's the reason?
I got it. Well, listen, Dallas, I can't thank you enough for coming on and telling your story, man. You got a beautiful one. You got a beautiful life. I wish you all the best going forward. Thank you for what you do. And if you have a story that you'd like to share with us on the Hit Podcast, please find us on The Honesty Experiment or at thegoodly25@gmail.com. Thank you very much and have a good one.